All right, your pencil goes down, your colored pen comes up. Remember, black is not okay, must be a bright color. Mark your answers correct, incorrect, and anything you get wrong, make sure you write down the correct answer because everything will cycle back at some point. And so, let's see how we are doing. Number one, what did you get as slope-intercept form? We'll start with Kaylee, Marcus, and then Yadesh.
Y equals 3x plus 11.
Okay?
Y equals 3x plus 11.
So you agree with her. You also agree that the answer is y equals 3x plus 11. We will come back to that in a little while. Number two, what did you get? We'll start with Amir, Garion, and then Laurel. What did you get?
Y equals negative 0.75x minus 5.
Okay.
Y equals negative 3/4 x minus 5.
Okay. Laurel?
Y equals negative 3 x subtract 20.
Okay. So minus 20 over 4 would be 20 over 4 is. You did everything right except for simplifying. Amir, on a quiz or test, I will mark yours wrong because we want slope as a fraction, even if it's an improper fraction. Could someone remind us why? What's the significance of the fraction? Cheyenne? So you can use rise over run. So in this case, we have negative, so this would be negative 3 is the rise, positive 4 is the run. If you write it as a decimal, what's the rise, what's the run? You just have one number. So we want slope always in fraction form. We'll come back to that in a moment. Let's go to number 3. Part A, set up an equation. What was your equation? We got Tristan, Paige, and then Gary.
I did x equals parentheses 13 minus 2 parentheses divided by 3 minus 0.75.
Okay.
I did 1 times 3 plus 3 times 2 plus 3 x equals 13.
Okay.
I did 2 plus 3 halves plus 3x equals 13 and 1/4.
Okay. So I will pretty much accept all of them. If you simplify Paige and Gary, if you simplify yours, you should end up with 3x plus 3.5 equals 13 1/4. So yours are perfectly okay. Tristan, yours is fine. Not really what I was looking for, but it still works out. When I say to set up an equation, what I'm referring to is an equation that could then be solved. And if you set up your picture correctly, you would see how it works out perfectly. We'll get to that in a moment. Part B, what's the width of the photo? You could have figured out Part B even if you got Part A wrong. What's the width of the photo? 4 people figured out the width of the photo? 5 people figured it out? Okay, Michael and then Adriana. Michael, what'd you get? Okay?
9 inches.
Okay, so we have a major disagreement. One of my employees thinks 3 1/4 will work, and one of my employees thinks 9 inches will work. Gary, what did you think?
I think it's 3 and 1/4.
Okay, well, it is 3 1/4. And Adriana, could you now, upon reflection, tell me why 9 inches absolutely makes no sense whatsoever?
It's too big.
Why is it too big?
Because if you put 3, it's 20 inches.
It's how many inches?
20. Oh. 27.
3 photos, 9 inches each, would be 27 inches, and that's double the width of the actual page. So, unfortunately, I don't blame you. You're certainly not the only person to make a mistake. But my students who are going to get a level 5 on the EOC need to be able to ask themselves, does my answer make sense? Now, if you got the answer of 3, yeah, your answer makes sense. It would be wrong, but at least it was close. But an answer of 9 or 10 or 12 or something like that, you need to be able to say, wait a minute, something's not right. Okay? So we're going to talk about number 3 for a moment, and then we're going to go back to numbers 1 and 2. I'm going to quickly sketch a picture that I think would be a good rendition. But I will say that I think I could have been a little more specific. One person drew a picture that was fair, but not what I intended. What I intended was a page that was going across like this, with 3 identical sized photos going across the page, kind of like this. And so you got 1, and then identical sized pages, identical sized photos going across the page. So that's the picture I was really hoping you would figure out. And then you take the information from the text and you plug it in. It says that there's going to be 1-inch margin on either side. 1 inch there and 1 inch there. So that's where we get 1 plus 1. 3/4 in between. 3/4 there, 3/4 there. That's where we get plus 3/4, plus 3/4. What will we label the actual photos themselves? I missed a number here. That's a 1 and that's a 1. What should we label the photos themselves? Mark? X. Those are the missing pieces. So that's X, that's X, that's X, and that's where we get plus X, plus X, plus X. And then, of course, the whole thing is 13¼ inches wide. So this whole thing has to equal 13¼ When you simplify all of this, you get that. 1 second, Amir. Now, if I had never shown you this before, or we had never done anything like this before, I would never expect you to be able to figure all that out. But we have actually done this 4 times before. So I actually did expect you to be able to take the text, draw a picture, come up with this, and then get the answer. And that is my expectation. Amir, go. Something very much like it. Yeah. Any comments, questions on number 3, parts A or B? So let's go to numbers 1 and 2. And I would like everyone to look at number 1. Give me a thumbs up if you got it right. Good. Chanel, what was your first step?
I did distribute.
Okay, Alex, what was your first step? Marcus, what was your first step? Yeah. Distribute. You end up with y minus 5 equals 3x plus 6. And what is the second step? Second step to get it to work? Jesse? Add 5 to both sides. Y equals 3x plus 11. What form of an equation is it in now? What form is that? What's its name? Amanda? Slope-intercept form. What piece of information can we pull out of it? Someone tell me something from it. Tell me a piece of information from it. Paige? The y-intercept is 11. I love the way you said that. Give me another piece of information we can pull out of it. Only 3 people can do that? 4 people, 5 people? Isabella? You can't pull anything out of that? Do you understand the 11 is the y-intercept? Okay, so there's another number in there. Do you know what it means? This might be a little kick yourself moment. Also, I did put you on the spot, so I apologize for that. Go ahead. Yeah, it's the slope. Very good. And so that's the whole purpose. Very good job. That's the whole purpose of slope-intercept form, is that once we get it in that form, we can instantly pull out information from it. And that information helps us do things. It helps us graph, it helps us figure out some other things that we'll do later on, but it helps us do things, okay? Any questions about that? Okay, any questions about today's warm-up at all? Okay, so today our exploration is going to be something called point-slope form. The lesson is titled 4-7 Part 1. Please make sure that you wrote down 4-7 Part 1. There will be a Part 2, and I'm going to actually grade it all as one big lesson. There's only one homework assignment that goes with it. I'm going to give you the homework assignment after today's lesson, and you'll be able to do some of it, but you won't be able to finish it. And then I'll give you the second half of the lesson, and then you will finish the assignment, and it will count as one large assignment. Okay? Yeah. So, if Algebra 1 Honors is not challenging enough, we barely had enough time to digest the idea of slope-intercept form, and now I'm going to throw into the mix point-slope form. It's a different form of equation. It also sounds almost the same, as if algebra wasn't hard enough. So let's explore what it is first, and then we'll talk about some of the challenges we face. Point-slope form is very useful when you have a point and the slope. One of its benefits is that it's so easy to write and it's so convenient. So, you see it outlined here for you. This is point-slope form. That's the equation. Sometimes I'll call it a model. And what I mean by that is we use the model and then we fill in parts of it to get what we want. You see that I've highlighted in bright blue 3 parts of the model. Right here, here, and here. So the parts that are in black don't change. They will always be there. The parts that are in blue will always be there, but we will replace the letters with numbers. Okay? So if you have the slope and a point, you can write point-slope form of an equation. So now I want to take a moment and I want you to look over here. Now we have standard form, slope-intercept form, point-slope form. I said this to you yesterday and I'm saying it again today. It's 3 different ways to say the same thing. And each one has benefits and each one has challenges. One is not better than the other, but certain forms get us things that we need. Just like yesterday when I talked to you about a student who has a $10 bill and wants to go to the vending machine. The $10 bill does not allow them to get what they want. So they have to convert it. They convert it to $10 bills. And then they can get what they want. In fact, I have students who ask me all the time, hey, excuse me, sir, do you have change for a 10? Because it gets them what they want. So point-slope form is one way to get what we want. Slope-intercept form is another way to get what we want. Standard form is another way to get what we want. It depends on the situation. If the person who has the $10 bill is going to go to Walmart to buy a new video game, is the $10 bill a drawback? No, because the video game is going to cost $20, $30, $40, $50. So they don't care if it's in dollar bills. The $10 bill is just fine. So it's all a matter of situation. Okay? So, it's going to take some getting used to. We're going to spend some time bouncing back and forth between different forms. We're going to talk about a lot of complex ideas. One of your jobs is, as I've always indicated, is when you walked in this room, your brain was in its highest gear possible. So, let's talk about how to write something in point-slope form. If you would like to write an equation in this form, first thing you need, and it's the same thing that you needed before, is the slope. In fact, all of this is extra. This is all extra stuff that I'm just writing in to help you. But step 1 is basically find the slope. You already know how to find the slope. You have a bunch of different ways to find the slope. It depends on the situation. It might be using the slope formula. It might be looking at the graph and doing rise over run. It might be doing something else. Step 2, you choose one point and you plug the coordinates of that point and the slope into the model. And that's it. Two-step process. Two-step process that can get a little confusing. One last note, and I don't want you to copy it, I just want you to read it, which means, of course, that you're sitting up in your chair and your eyes are up here and you're actually reading, is that a linear equation can have more than one point slope form, but slope-intercept form will always be the same. And we're going to explore that idea in a little while. So, again, I got to tell you that stuff gets very confusing. And they sound the same. Slope, intercept, point, slope. It gets confusing. You're going to have to figure out a way to work it out. Also, last thing before we get into it. All 4 of these, by next week, should be committed to memory. Now, if I asked everyone right now to say the Pledge of Allegiance, give me a thumbs up if you could do it. Don't do it, but just give me a thumbs up if you could. Okay, put your thumbs down. Give me a thumbs up if at some point someone gave you a copy of the Pledge of Allegiance and you went home and sat and memorized it. Okay, put your thumbs down. So, for the most part, with the exception of one person, everybody in the room knows the Pledge of Allegiance, but not one person memorized it. But you have it committed to memory. How? How is that possible? Cheyenne? I'm sorry? Repeatedly hearing it. Okay. Yadesh, what else? You have to repeat it every morning. Amir, what else? Yeah, and is this year the only year you've done it? When did you start doing it? Maybe preschool, maybe kindergarten, which means that you've been doing it at least 8 years, possibly 9, possibly 10 years. Does it take any effort to do it? No, it doesn't, right? So here's the thing. We have to figure out how to take that process of doing something for 10 years every day and condensing it down to a few days and doing it for 4 different things. You have to know all of these. Next week, I'm going to see you in the hallway and I'm literally going to stop you in front of your friends and I'm going to ask you to tell me what the slope formula is. And you are going to have to instantly say, no problem, Mr. Gallup, m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And I'll say, have a nice day, and I'll walk away.
That's so weird.
If you mess up, then you get the pleasure of doing the Roman chair.
Oh, no,
If you don't know what the Roman chair is, then wait till next week and we'll find out. So,
I'm pretty sure it's
or-
the one where you have to sit.
so we'll move on. So, upon request, you should have no issue with any of those forms or equations. Any questions about my expectations? Good. So now let's get into it. Point slope form. Writing an equation in point slope form means you have to know the model. Right now, I do not expect you to have it memorized. So now you're going to have to look back. because you're gonna need to know it, but it's hard to remember. Now, last time we were together, we studied slope-intercept form, and when I asked you to do something in slope-intercept form, I said you should immediately do this. But now it's different. That's for slope-intercept form. For point-slope form, something else is going to happen. Because you don't need slope and a y-intercept, you need something different. You need the slope, you need a point, and then you need the model, which starts out y minus. So now, today, you're going to set up this key. If it's slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, then you do m, b, y. But for point-slope form, it's this. Because I am helping my students get set up for high levels of success. So, now we have what we need outlined. Now we have to find the pieces of information. So now you're an algebra investigator. You're at the crime scene. You have to find the m, the point, and then put it all together. So, help me out, investigators. What's the slope? Catalina? Where did you find? Yeah, it's right there. It's super simple, no big deal. This question so far is a joke. What about a point? We also need a point to write point-slope form. Where can we find it? Jesse? It's 0,3. It's right there. It's given to us. It's basically, you're an investigator walking up to a crime scene, you're looking for evidence, and all the evidence is right there. There's the gun, and there's the note that said, Mr. Smith did it.
How many Smiths are there?
So you walk up, there's the crime scene evidence, case closed, you're done. So there was no effort really to be made in part A. But now we need to put it all together because the lawyer needs it all in a nice package. So now we have to put it in the right package. Here is the package. Y minus, and we're going to put a number right there, so everyone leave a space. Then equals, then leave another space because we're going to put another number there. Open parentheses, x minus, another space, close parentheses. So we just have to put the right numbers in the right place. Here's one spot, here's another spot, and here's a third spot. Here's one number, two numbers, three numbers. We just have to match them up. If you put the numbers in the wrong place, of course, you just blew the case and you get fired. So, put the numbers in the right place. Y minus y1, well, there's the y, so put the 3 right there. Equals the slope. Slope is -4, put a -4 right there. Open parentheses, x minus x1, there's the x right there. Put a 0, close parentheses, and we're done. Now we just finished writing point-slope form of the equation. Any questions on how we did that? Any questions? Okay, pretty basic. Not a lot of brain power needed, right? But it's going to get hard. Part B. I am asking for point-slope form, so immediately your brain kicks into gear and says, oh, Mr. Gallup trained me on this. Point-slope form means I do this. Because I'm an expert. I'm an expert at what Mr. Gallup teaches me. And so we set this up for success. And now find what you need. Well, I'll go a little bit faster. Because it was so easy the first time, it's easy again. The slope is 1/4, it's right there. The point, like Jesse said in the other one, it's right there. -1, -4. So now we need to put it in a nice neat package, which is called point-slope form. But now we have to pay attention to details, so watch. y minus, leave a space, equals, space, open parentheses, x minus, and then leave another space. And once again, we have to fill in the information. But now, my Algebra 1 honors high-level students who are all going to get level 5s have to pay attention to details because watch what happens. First, y minus y1, but now we have -4. Do we write that? So what do we do instead? What do we do instead? Tristan? That's exactly right. We do not do minus a negative, and I've taught you that since the beginning of the year. Instead, we do plus. So, this actually changes, excuse me, I'm sorry. This changes to y plus 4. And yes, I know it no longer looks like the model, because all of a sudden the subtraction sign disappeared, but it's actually still there. It's just hidden. Now the slope goes in 1/4, that's no big deal. But now the x coordinate goes here, but again it's a negative number. Do we write that? No, we follow what Tristan said, which was we change it to +1. And so that's the kind of detail that Algebra 1 Honors Level 5 students have to pay attention to. If you wrote this, would it make you a bad person? Excuse me. If you wrote that, would it make you a bad person? No. But it is not what I expect. I expect a higher level of understanding. I expect my students to know minus a negative means plus. And so we do not do this. We do this. Marcus, you had a comment or question? Go ahead.
There's a thing where you have to do a negative and then you change the symbol to positive.
Yeah, if one of the coordinates is a negative, then this turns into a positive. And if one of them was negative and one of them was positive, one of these would be a plus and one would be a minus. Don't worry, you're going to see all the different cases. Okay? Any questions so far? So other than paying attention to positives and negatives, we have not really expended much brain energy. But that's going to change. So, example 2. What if we are given 2 points and that's it? Write something. Don't ask, just go. I apologize for the interruption. So, now we have a slightly different scenario. We are asked to write point-slope form of an equation. You hear that, and you are now trained to do this. And now find what you need. So read the question, read the information. What do we have? Someone tell us something that we've got. Only one person sees something that we've got. 2 people, 3 people, 4 people. Okay, put your hands down. Isabella, do you see anything that we have given to us? See the points. And what does PT stand for? I'm sorry? I just can't hear you, that's all. Okay, well, if you didn't know what I was writing, then you should have asked and said, Mr. Gow, what are you writing? What's PT? Could someone tell us what PT stands for so that we can all make sure we know? Because I guess I assumed that we knew. Chanel? Point. How many? How many points do we need? 1. So that's why it says PT, point. It's just 1 point. So how many points do we have in the question? 2. So we just need 1 of them. So pick one. Michael, pick one. Say exactly what it is. So we have a point, 4 comma negative 10. Do we see it now? Okay, Chopin, that makes sense? There's a point right there. We can write it right there. Okay. We need the slope. So now get me the slope. We need the slope. That's what the m is, right? So is it written here? Darian, is it written right here? You know what it is? Okay, don't tell me. But answer the question again. Is it written right here? Is it written up here? So it's not crime scene evidence. It's not I walked up and there it is. We have to do something, right? Now we have to be an investigator. And so you've got 1 minute of team talk to get with your investigative team. And you need to figure out how, I didn't finish explaining it. You need to figure out how to get the slope. So go ahead and get the slope. Isabella. All right, what did we come up with? What did my investigative teams come up with so that we could find the slope? Got 1 team came up with something, 2 teams, 3 teams, 4 teams, 5 teams, 6 teams came up with something. Amari, what did your team come up with? I don't want the slope, I want to know how to get it.
Okay. So you take the points and then you put the x1, y1. What? Okay, you do the slope formula.
Okay, so you think we could do the slope formula. Jesse, what did your team come up with? Okay, very good. So we could do that. Paige, what did your team come up with? The slope formula. Yadesh, what did your team come up with? Slope formula. Garion, what did your team come up with? Slope formula. So guess what? Everything that everybody said is all accurate. You could plot both points and then do rise over run and get the slope. Or you can use the slope formula. I'm willing to bet that if you did draw the graph, that it probably took you a little time, and you probably could have saved that time by just doing the slope formula. And so what happens is each one of these forms uses slope in some way. This formula gets it for us if we need it and we don't have it. And since we have 2 points right here, we can do exactly what Amari was starting to explain, but was kind of rudely cut off by one of her classmates to try and shorten it up. x1, y1, x2, y2, and now you are using your investigative abilities to find what you need. It's just like the crime scene technician who takes the fingerprint sample and has to go back to the lab to analyze it. You have to take the evidence and do something with it. So we're going to have to come over here and do m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Jesse's team decided to draw a graph and do rise over run. They could do that. That's their technique. So go for it. But I think after you see doing it this way, you'll realize that this is a pretty efficient way of doing it. So replace the letters with the proper numbers. M equals y2 is negative 10 minus minus y1 is 6 over x2, which is 4, minus negative 12. And now simplify. Now, if you're a crime scene technician, you bring a fingerprint back to your lab, use computer technology in your brain to try and figure out who it is, and you match it up with the wrong person, that's bad, right? 1, the wrong person's going to go to jail, and 2, you're going to get fired. So is it okay to make a mistake during our analysis? No. So the good thing is that I've got a very good investigative team right over there, and Amari got it spot on, because she figured out that the slope was exactly, what was it? It was negative 1. And so now we know the slope and we have a point. So now we can put it all together. You had a comment about this part?
Actually, yeah, the slope's 1 since it's negative 16 over negative 16. The negative cancels out.
No.
Actually, you just got fired because it's negative 16 over positive 16.
Wow.
That's okay. I appreciate you trying, and it's okay. It's okay to try and point out a mistake. I appreciate that, Garen, and I was joking around. You didn't get fired. You're just fine. But it does come out to negative 1. Okay? So, now let's put it all together. Because the lawyers need it in a nice, neat package. So, we put it all together. Y minus, and we're going to fill in a number, equals, we're going to put another number, x minus, and then the final number. We've got all 3 numbers, now plug it in. Remember, we don't put negative 10, so we'll change this to plus 10. This is negative 1, and now this is minus 4. So notice that we now have a case where we have plus on one side and minus on the other. Does anyone have any questions on how we put this together? Any questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, well, I had another example that we were going to do that was almost the same thing. But I feel like our time would be better used if I let you have a shot on your own. Because instead of doing both of them, I'd rather you just do the one. But work on it on your own or with your teammates. So, checkpoint number 1. Write the equation of the line in point-slope form. So, you've got 2 questions. I'll give you a minute and a half each for a total of 3 minutes. All right, put your pencils down, pick up your colored pens. Part A is a joke, so we'll just reveal the answer. Everyone should have gotten that right. If you didn't, pick up all of your stuff. I'm going to open up the back closet, and you're going to sit in there for the rest of the day. Part B required some effort, so let's see how you did. Go to the equity bars to get some people involved. So we've got number 19, number 9, number 1, and number 13. Number 19, what did you get? Okay, number 9, what'd you get? I'm sorry? All right, well, you've got about 30 seconds. By the time I get done with the other two people, I'll be back to you. Number 1, what did you get?
Y minus 1 is equal to 2 over 1 times x minus 4.
Okay, and number 13, what'd you get?
Y plus 3 equals 2 parentheses x minus 2.
Okay, Jesse, back to you. Okay, I appreciate your honesty. There are 2 possible answers. You should have gotten one of them, because it actually does not matter which point you use. So you could have gotten y plus 3 equals 2 times the quantity x minus 2, or y minus 1 equals 2 times the quantity x minus 4. But I want you to notice something. 2 different equations, they have the same slope. That's why point-slope form is so beneficial and so efficient. Because once you find the slope, all you need is another point, and you can write a whole bunch of different equations from that same information. Any questions about part A or part B? Do I have to open up the closet and put anybody back there because of their inability to do part A? Okay, good. All right, so now I'm going to do something new, and because I'm very crafty, it's actually here. So we're going to do what's called a checkpoint extension. So I would like you to write CPEXT, and I would like you to write this. Rewrite each equation in slope-intercept form. Write them down carefully. This is a critical activity right here. This is what helps you understand everything we've been doing. So, before I give you 2 minutes to do this, can someone tell us where these 2 equations came from? Where did the 2 equations come from? Okay, put your hands down. Give me a thumbs up when you see where they came from. Adriana, where'd they come from?
So, point slope form, but,
Okay, yeah. These are the 2 answers to part B up here. So what I'm asking you to do now is rewrite both of these in slope-intercept form. So, you've got 2 minutes to do that. 2 minutes are starting any second now. Ready, go. You already know how to do this because we did it during the warm-up. have 1 minute to team talk and compare your answers with your teammates. So you actually need to compare your answers.
Y equals 2x minus 7. I was looking at 2x plus y.
Okay, we are back together as a whole group. Give me a thumbs up if you noticed something. Give me a thumbs up if you noticed something. Cheyenne, what did you notice?
Either way, you still get the same answer for both of them.
Isabella, do you agree with that? Okay. Tristan, you agree with that?
I definitely agree.
So what answer did we get?
I got y equals 2x minus 7 for 8 and y equals 2x minus 7 for b.
So no matter what, you get the same equation. And so I want to go back to something. Everyone has to look up here because this is the only place it's going to be. If you look at my notes right here, I want you to look at this. A linear equation can have more than one point slope form, but slope-intercept form will always be the same. Let me take it a step further, and this is critical. See this? You see this equation, and they both turned into this equation? Watch this. They all have that as their graph. I've been saying the same thing over and over again. Remember earlier that when I asked you about the Pledge of Allegiance, I said, how did it become part of your memory? And someone said, because you hear it every day. So I'm now saying this over and over again. So the question is it going to sink in? This is the same thing expressed a different way. And when I say that 4 quarters, 10 dimes, and 20 nickels have the same value, they're all equal to $1. All 3 of these, 1, 2, 3, all have the same value, and it's that line right there. Now watch this. Pay very close attention, because here's where you're going to really start putting things together. So I know you've been sitting for a while, and I know it's hard, and I know you're tired. It doesn't matter. Sit up straight, get your head on straight, because this is a critical piece. I would like you to look at this, and I would like you to look specifically right there. Someone tell me what that is called. Every single hand should go up, because every single person should know. If you're looking around waiting for someone else to answer, then I'm going to call on you. Michael, what's that called? It's a big giant room, Michael. You're going to have to use a much louder. It's the y-intercept. Of course it's the y-intercept. We spent time learning that. So now, look at this. Y-intercept, y-intercept. Could someone tell us what this is called right there? What's that called? Amani? You got confused. It's not the x. Okay, good. Good job fixing the mistake. Excellent. It's called the slope. And so it says 2. Could someone tell us what it really is? It says 2, but it's really something slightly different. Catalina? 2 over 1. Very good. And so that means that I can rise 2 and run 1, right? Watch this. Rise 2, run 1, and I end up on the line. Rise 2, run 1, I end up on the line.
Oh.
Now watch this. Do you remember how we got this and this? We got it from these 2 points, right? So I would like everyone, I would like everyone to look at these 2 points and stick them in your mind for a second because they're going to disappear. Someone tell me the first point. What was the first one, Amir? 2, -3, watch this. What was the second point? What was the second point, Paige? 4, 1. So what I have just proven is that everything is all interconnected and is all the same thing. These 2 points are solutions to these equations and this equation. And they are all on the line. And they can all help form this line right here. So this is a critical connection for you to make. Does anyone have any questions about what you're seeing? This is critical. I mean, this is the whole chapter all wrapped up. Because we're going to take it a step further. Are there any questions? Okay? So now, example 3, we're going to graph this equation using intercepts. So write example 3 and write the equation, and then I'll be with you. Thank you. So let's reach back. I would like to graph this equation using intercepts. So some of you are saying to yourself, what's intercepts? Some of you are saying to yourself, well, I've heard of this, but I don't remember how to do it. And some of you know exactly what to do. Let me be clear. You should know exactly what to do. If you don't, make sure you pay extra attention. If you're tired or you're antsy or you feel like you need to run out of the room, I'm sorry, you're going to have to take a deep breath because we're not done yet. So we're going to graph this using intercepts. Could someone tell us how to start? How do we start? Chanel? I'm sorry? Well, I could do that, but all that's going to do is rewrite the equation, and I want to graph using intercepts, and that was a slightly different process. But hold on to your thought because we're going to come back to you for the next part. Okay, Chopin? Michael, did you hear what she said? What did she say? You have like super hearing. Yeah, she said turn the y into 0. So we do -9x plus 4 times 0 equals 36. But all my super bright students remembered that that just turned into nothing. And so we have the simple equation -9x equals 36. So x equals what? X equals what? Kaylee? -4. So we now have the x-intercept. How do we get the y-intercept? Well, now it should be coming back to you a little bit. Alex? Turn the x into the 0. And what you should remember is that when you put a 0 there, that basically disappears, and we end up with this simple equation. 4y equals 36. So what does y equal? What does y equal? Am I right? 9. And so to graph using intercepts, we need to find the x-intercept and the y-intercept, plot them, and then draw a line through them. So now everyone needs to draw a grid, and I'm going to do it at the same time as you. But your grid needs to go at least 10 in each direction, because we have some bigger points to put on. Now plot the points. The x-intercept is -4. There's -1, -2, -3, -4 is right there. The y-intercept is 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Put a point. And now using your ruler very carefully, you draw a line all the way through. And of course, draw arrows on either end. And you should end up with this graph. Give me a thumbs up if you've got the same graph that I've got. Okay, put your thumbs down. Now, go back to here. And I would like everyone to rewrite this, but I want you to rewrite it a little bit over to the side, maybe over here. -9x plus 4y equals 36. And now, I would like to rewrite that into slope-intercept form. And we're going to start with Chanel. Chanel, what's the first step in writing in slope-intercept form? So everyone working along with me, add 9x to both sides. This will now disappear, and I'm left with 4y equals 9x plus 36. What's the next step to get slope-intercept form completed? Paige?
Divide the 4 by 4 and then divide 9x by 4 and then 36 by 4.
Divide everything separately by 4. Very good. Simplify anything that can be simplified. This cancels out, and we've got our y. Equals. 9/4 is already in simplest form. There's nothing you can do with it. And since it's slope, we want it to say 9/4. X plus, and what's 36 over 4? What does that come out to? Adriana? 9. This is now slope-intercept form. Could someone tell us what this is called? What is that called? Jesse? The y-intercept. Could someone now, let's see, I'll give you 30 seconds. Give me a thumbs up when you see it. I'm not even telling you what to look for, but give me a thumbs up when you see it. Now, you run a risk, because I might call on you and ask you what you see, and you may not see what I'm hoping for, but maybe you will. Of course, if you're not even looking up here, then yeah, you wouldn't be able to see anything. Okay, Keshope, what do you see? You just have to say it a little bit louder because you're right. Yeah, the y-intercept is 9, right there. Good. But what else did you notice? We already established that. Jesse told us that that's the y-intercept. So I'm asking, what else did you notice? And you're not speaking anymore. Well, I think you already said it, but I think you said it quietly, and I was just waiting for you to raise your voice. So I'll go on to somebody else, and when you find that inner loud voice, then we'll come back to you. Caleb?
It never changed. The y-intercept and the other.
Yeah, it's the same thing over here. 9 is the y-intercept, and 9 is the y-intercept. This is the same exact equation written a different way. So what I was trying to get you to see is that this is a different way of doing the same thing. Here, what form of the equation is this in? What form is that? Everybody should raise their hand and know the answer. Catalina? Standard form. We used intercepts to graph it. But then we converted it to slope-intercept form, and there all of a sudden is the y-intercept again. It's the same thing. Now the slope. 9 over 4. Well, guess what? You can actually say that's up 9 over 4, or you can actually say down 9 to the left 4. Watch this. See the line we have? Down 9 over 4. Down 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Over 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom. I end up on the line again. So no matter which way we do it, we end up with the same graph. This is a critical connection that you need to be able to make. That just because I'm asking you to use a different form, or a different method, or a different form, or a different method, it's all the same thing. And if I give you a quiz, and one of your classmates asked this yesterday, if I give you a quiz and I ask you to graph something, and I say graph using intercepts, and you want to graph it doing some other method, do you think I'm going to care? Because all I want is the correct graph. It doesn't matter how you arrive at it. So this was a critical connection. So, any comments or questions on what we did here? Okay? Draw a line across your paper. Your homework. You're going to write it all down. You're not going to be able to do all of it until we finish part 2. On page 229, you're doing numbers 1 through 8. On page 230, you're going to do numbers 1 through 6. In the old workbook, on page 23, you're going to do numbers 1 through 6. That you can do right away, because that's a review. It's a total of 20 questions, but it won't be graded until, let's see, I see you Monday, and then I will see you Wednesday. So it won't be graded until Wednesday. And you are going to have a quiz on Monday. And that will be from 4-1 through 4-4. Also note that you should be practicing a minimum of 11 minutes on the typing tutor program that I set you up on.